Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, you could see that today we took a walk up around the wool and dairy farm that backs up to our property, and it's so cute to see the sheep coming in from the far field into the meadow. I love September. I love as the days start to get just a little bit shorter. It's still rather warm out, so it does feel a little bit still like summer, but I think the quality of the light changes and it becomes a bit more golden and more slanted, and it sort of reminds me of a constable painting. So I just wanted to share with you today my TBR pile for September. I'll be participating in 2 reading challenges. The first is called Tudortember, and it's being hosted by Lil of Lil's Vintage World. She's a vlogger that I follow, and also her friend, who I believe is the Hungry Bookworm. So their challenge is to learn a bit about the Tudors, Tudor era, just read one work about the Tudor period. It could be a biography, it can be fiction, nonfiction, what have you. So I've decided to take up that challenge, and my choice is The Tudor Age by Jasper Ridley. And I think this is Overlook Press. Let me just take a quick look here. Yes, this is the Overlook Press. This is a really great sort of introductory survey about the period. And of course, it goes from when Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at Bosworth Field, and I believe it goes up until the death of Queen Elizabeth. So it's the kind of book, first of all, I got it for $5. It's a used book, but you can find copies on Amazon and elsewhere. And if you look through it, you'll see it's lavishly illustrated, and it's the kind of thing you don't have to read cover to cover. You can really just sort of dip into it here and there. It does start out with a kind of survey of the Tudor era, and it gives you a timeline of the major events, and then it kind of goes into clothing and family and ways of life and the court and all of that. And he does focus a bit on the various figures, so obviously Queen Elizabeth and Henry VIII and the Queen's, his 6 wives. And it's just a really lovely book. Here's the back cover. So The Tudor Age by Jasper Ridley. I figured that since I do know a little bit about the Tudor era, but I wanted to take a refresher course, this was a really great reference work to consult. So that's my first book. The next book I've chosen for Tudortember is Mary, Queen of Scots by John Guy. I wanted a nonfiction biography, and this is a really good one. Mary, Queen of Scots, became Queen of Scotland at 6 days old. She was married 3 times. Her cousin, Queen Elizabeth, held her captive for 18 years and eventually executed her. It's a story full of intrigue, castles, plots, secret passageways, romance, sex, you name it, it's in here. And John Guy, this is the first book I've read by him, and he does tend to be a little bit more academic, but as you can see, I'm on page 425, and so I'm 2/3 of the way through, if not more. I've gotten that far, and it's really just whizzing by for me. It's not a dull read whatsoever. He's a good storyteller, and he really puts forth an evocative case for why Mary Stuart is misunderstood, and so I'm really enjoying this, and I do recommend it. And I think I'm going to have to do a separate book review on this, because I do perennially see on YouTube, people sort of downplaying Mary or criticizing her, and I think I'll need to set the record straight. I've also been enjoying dipping into another biography, very well known, Mary Queen of Scots by Antonia, Fraser. This copy is an old friend of mine. I remember way back in university, when I was at the University of Toronto, St. Michael's College, and Mary Queen of Scots, starring Vanessa Redgrave, was on in the common room, and we were all gathered around the little TV set on the cart watching it, and sort of swooning and gasping and enjoying the whole thing immensely. And I bought this soon after, so this is quite an old paperback. I think I would like to get a newer copy that's a little bit updated, but it's fun to compare the one I read so long ago by Fraser with John Guy's account, so I've been having some fun with that too. Well, moving on from the Tudor era, as you may or may not know, Mary Queen of Scots gave birth to James I, and this is a book that has to do with his life. It's Witches, James I and the English Witch Hunts by Tracy Borman. And this one just looks so fascinating to me, because it does carry on with Mary Queen of Scots' descendants, and also the fact that it's still set in Scotland, and with October coming, the whole part about witches. It seems like a good time of the year to read this. This was recommended by, what is her name? Ashley, the Untrained Librarian. She has a lot of great picks on her channel, so thank you, Ashley. She is on the eastern coast of Canada, I believe in the Maritimes, and I love looking at her book picks, and she has some very thoughtful commentary, so please do check out her channel as well. I'm going to read you the back cover of this. I haven't read it yet because I'm still finishing up with John Guy's book, so I'm looking forward to starting this one soon though. And basically it says, in Belvoir Castle in September 1613, the heir of one of England's great noble families falls suddenly and dangerously ill. Within a few short weeks he'll suffer an excruciating death. Soon the whole family will be stricken with the same symptoms. The second son, the last male of the line, will not survive. It's said that witches are to blame, and so the Earl of Rutland's sons will not be the last to die. This case is among those which constitute the European witch craze of the 15th to 18th centuries, when suspected witches were burned, hanged, or tortured by the thousand. Like those, it's a tale of superstition and ultimately injustice, a reminder of how paranoia and hysteria can create an environment in which nonconformism spells death. Unfortunately, I think that's still in part true today, isn't it? But Tracy Borman is a well-respected author and historian, and as we know, the topic of Scotland and its rulers and things that happen there are fascinating to me. So I'm really looking forward to this one too. Next up is a book that I think was recommended by Miranda Mills. So thank you, Miranda. In fact, I think two of my books in this TBR pile were recommended by Miranda Mills, so I really appreciate that. And this sort of continues on the Scottish theme, and this is called The Secret Life of Tartan. This is by Vixy Ray, and it's How a Cloth Shaped a Nation. This book is so neat. Vixy Ray operates Stuart Christie and Company, which is one of Scotland's oldest bespoke tailors, and she's the first female member of the Incorporation of Edinburgh Tailors, which is a trade body which dates back more than 6 centuries. So in this book, which is also lavishly illustrated, we get a history of tartan. There's just some gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous illustrations in here. And she gives you all kinds of things about the lore and the background and the culture around tartan, such as recipes for natural dyes made from berries and herbs and leaves and so on, and also what the different meanings of the tartans are. I think maybe my favorite part of this is how it relates to popular current films and series. So for example, she comments on whether Outlaw King, starring Chris Pine, is that accurate in its clothing and in its costumes and the representation. And then she also does Mary Queen of Scots. I haven't seen that film yet. That's the one with Saoirse Ronan and what is her name? Margot Robbie. And I'm looking forward to that. I know it's gotten a lot of flack, but I think when I do the review of the book by John Guy, I'll do a comparison with the film. And so this is a great book. I think also there's some quotes in here and some a blurb by Sam Hewn from Outlander, and she talks about Outlander and the tartans in that. So it's just really a fascinating book, and I've been having a lot of fun thumbing through this one. I don't know why, but tartan makes me think of fall and, you know, cooler weather and those color combinations. So thank you, Miranda, for this recommendation. The other BookTube challenge that I'm really, really looking forward to is Victober. And this challenge was created by Katie Lumsden of Books and Things, as well as several of her BookTube friends. Victober, as you can probably guess, is a combination of Victorian literature and the month of October. So I will be doing a completely separate video announcing my TBR pile and haul for Victober and which Victorian books I'll be reading. But I just wanted to sort of dip my toes in it and get started on it a little bit. So, well, actually, in advance of that, let me say that I also am reading a nonfiction book. This is kind of carrying on from the textile tradition. And this is Only the Clothes on Her Back, Clothing and the Hidden History of Power in the 19th Century United States. This is by Laura F. Edwards. Isn't that a beautiful cover? I absolutely love that. And this one tells you about the provenance inherent in people's clothing and the stories that can be told through clothing. And so there's, you know, all kinds of things in here. I'll just give you one example that I marked the page for here. So this is token left by a mother in the mid-18th century to identify the child she left at the London Foundling Hospital, which continues as the children's charity Coram. The bit of red cloth enclosed was pinned to the child's cap, a heart cut from the red woolen cloth, a ribbon of blue paduasoy silk, and a piece of linen diaper, which at that time apparently was a type of cloth used for all kinds of linens, not just babies' diapers. And it's called Foundling 10563, a girl admitted November 22nd, 1758. So here's the picture. And it shows all of those things pinned together so that the mother could identify her child. This is a story of race. It's a story of feminism. It's a story of escape. and it explores gender, materials, the law, all kinds of things. I think this one is going to be a bit more academic, but I love textiles, I love social history, and it is set, well, it goes all the way, I think, from maybe the, let's see, it says the 19th century United States, but I think some of it is a little bit before that. So I just think it sounds fascinating, and I'm really, really looking forward to this one. Then, in honor of Victober, I decided to take out one of my old tried and true Penguin cloth-bound classics editions of Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. And this is a well-known work. I read it once before, and I will admit it is not my favorite Thomas Hardy novel. The thing that I love so much about Thomas Hardy is his nuanced images and characterizations. And for me, maybe because it's an earlier work, Far from the Madding Crowd sometimes comes off to me feeling more like a medieval morality play with pastoral stock characters. So I don't know, but you know, I love the character of Gabriel Oak and his representation of the land and and nature. So I really am looking forward to diving back into this and doing a bit of a reread, and this will sort of prime the pumps and get me ready for my reading in Victober. And it's also in the, you know, pastoral setting with the sheep and so on, so that's appropriate and fits. And on the same note, I also am going to be looking at Hardy's Wessex, The Landscapes That Inspired the Writer. This is put together by Dorset Museum, Poole Museum, the Salisbury Museum, and Wiltshire Museums. And this was a booklet that was created to accompany that exhibition. And so it's beautiful. It's really short. It's a paperback. Here's the back cover. There's Thomas Hardy. But it has such a wealth of information. And it's, I mean, wow, look at this. There's paintings. Apparently these are all objects, paintings, photographs, letters, and so on, which were part of the exhibition talking about Hardy's Wessex. And you just learn so much about him in such a short space. It's just beautiful, and it really, as I've been looking through it a little bit each night, it's really been a joy to learn more about Hardy's life and the land he actually grew up in and how he translated that into his Wessex novels. And the table of contents here is interesting because it divides it into rural Wessex, coastal Wessex, ancient Wessex, and urban Wessex. And it's also got this lovely timeline accompanied by woodcuts, and tells you about Hardy's life and where he was when. So lovely, lovely edition. And this is from Paul Holberton Publishing. I do recommend this sort of as an accompaniment to go with Far from the Madding Crowd or whatever Hardy novel or poetry you happen to be enjoying at the moment. Continuing on with a bit of a sheep theme, I have been also enjoying this little booklet. It's called 10 Poems About Sheep, and these are edited by Alison O'Neill. It's from Candlestick Press. And this is really just a little pamphlet, as you can see, but a lovely illustration on the front here. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's 10 poems about sheep. Candlestick Press has these available on many, many different topics, and they're really, really sweet. And in here is one of my favorite poems by the poet John Clare. So I have this on my bedside table, and I've really been enjoying this one as well. And they do give you, with each one, a lovely accompanying bookmark. And I'm a paper crafter, as some may or may not know, and love things like that, the extra little paper freebies that come with it. Also on the topic of sheep, here's another book that was recommended, I think, by Miranda Mills. And this is called Vanishing Fleece, Adventures in American Wool by Clara Parks. And this traces her trip from Maine, I believe, to Wisconsin, I want to say, and back. And it kind of, I think she said, traces the journey of yarn. One thing that's really neat about this is that I like it because so many of the books are written about yarn in England and wool in England and sheep in England. This one is focusing on the United States, so I really appreciate that because it's, you know, something I can relate to a little more personally. Also, I believe the very first stop she makes is at one of the first steps is at a merino sheep farm in upstate New York. And I'm in Western New York, so not really that far away from where she was. And again, with us having the sheep in our yard and their wool being harvested as well, this is very interesting to me. So look for this one, Clara Parks. And finally, on my TBR pile is a book called Field Notes from a Hidden City, an Urban Nature Diary by Esther Woolfson. This one looks fantastic. This is nonfiction nature writing, and I'll just read you a little bit of it. Field Notes from a Hidden City is set against the backdrop of the austere, gray, and beautiful northeast Scottish city of Aberdeen. Therein, Esther Woolfson examines the elements, geographic, atmospheric, and environmental, that bring together such a diversity of life forms. She's talking about everything: rats, squirrels, gulls, starlings, pigeons. This book actually opens up kind of like in a diary form or almanac form in the month of November with snow. And she's noting the facades of the architecture of the buildings around her and the pigeons and the quality of the air and the light and so forth. So it's really a book about place and environment and how we interrelate in it. The prose style looks just absolutely poetic and wonderful, so I'm really looking forward to this one as well. Then, just to finish up, I wanted to share some things, some crafts and so forth, which I've been enjoying. As you can probably see, I've been wearing my little tartan scarf here. This was a gift that was brought back for me by a friend who recently visited Scotland. And the thing I really enjoy most about it is that it has pockets. So sometimes when you go for a walk and you've got your keys and your phone and you realize that you've come out without clothing that has pockets on it. So this is a nice way to take care of that because you've got your keys. There's plenty of room in here for those, sunglasses and so forth. So I really love the tartan plaid on here. I also had picked up some Outlander Castle Leoch fingerless gloves. These are called Claire's gloves, and I'm just putting them on so that you can see them. These are from Blue Ridge Pearl, and I found these on the website Etsy, and they're just lovely. So they're hand knit. This is them. They're available in a number of different colors, and I just love these because sometimes you don't want full gloves. I don't know about you, but I sometimes have klutzy fingers when I'm trying to pick up keys or coins or so forth, or it's not cold enough to really need complete gloves, and I just like this style very much, and it's so reminiscent of the Outlander series. It's a lot of fun. Additionally, I've been trying to learn how to felt, and so I've been taking classes at the local village library and yarn shop that are nearby to me. And I'm rubbish at felting so far, but I've been having so much fun. And in case you don't know, felting is when you take wool and you take a needle and you start working the wool until it hardens a little bit and you form it into different shapes. And so my first attempts I'm going to share with you, but they really are abysmal, but what I made was still kind of cute, I think. So here's my little penguin, but he's not really a penguin, but he's kind of a mole penguin seal something. But this was my very first attempt. So there's that. And then I tried doing a little mouse. I see such adorable felted mice available online, and I said, I could do that. Well, I think I need a little more practice, but I'm working on my little mice here. I think the thing that I had the most success with was these little acorns. And so, because all you really had to do was truthfully form the orange yarn into, I don't know if you're going to be able to see those, I may have to do an above shot, but you had to sort of form them into little orange balls. And then I took actual acorn caps that I found on a walk and attached those on the top. So those are my attempt at acorns. The way I got interested in this was through a website and also YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is Felts by Philippa, and she does amazing, amazing work. She makes horses and sheep and stags and all kinds of things, and they're gorgeous. And you know, in my penguin mole pales in comparison and my acorns, but really I'll put the link below. You have to check out her work, and she gives great beginner lessons online free. So yeah, look that one up for sure. And she had recommended a beginner kit, and this is the one that I purchased, and this is from a company called Heidi Feathers. I think the box is so pretty. And I hope I won't be spilling all the contents when I open it up to show you. But it comes, so this is sort of how it comes. And there's the instructions and the holder for the needles, that's wood. And it also, you get these little finger protectors made out of leather, which are very, very nice. And trust me, you're going to want these, at least at first, until you become an expert. She gives you a really good assortment of felting needles in different widths and thicknesses. You get the sponge felting pad so that the needle has a place to go as it goes through the wool, so that you're not stabbing a tabletop. So that's in here. I won't pull that out right now. And then you do get an assortment of two types of colors of yarn. So you get bright colors. This is slivered wool, and these are sort of rainbow hued colors. And then the other package you get is of fur colors and natural colors. So your grays, tan, taupe, white, cream, and so on. Black is in here. So depending on what you want to make, you'll get a little bit of each of these. And I'll also put the link for this online as well below the comments here, so that you can see that. I think the cutest thing that it comes with is this little packet here. This has a pair of glass eyes in it to put in the animal that you make, so like your little mouse and so on. It's real little glass eyes. So I thought that was really neat. And she gives you a little project booklet so that you can follow along. So those are all of my felting projects and wool projects, and my September TBR list for Tudortember, getting ready for Victober, and my love of Scotland, textiles, social history, sheep, and wool. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and please let me know in the comments what you're reading. Do you have any good recommendations for books on the Tudors, either fiction or nonfiction? I'm open to both. And also, you know, poetry, plays, what's your favorite? And of course, what kinds of Victorian literature would you recommend that I put on my list for Victober? I'll be posting a video soon with the choices I come up with to share with you. So I hope you've enjoyed this and enjoy the day. Get out there, visit some sheep. Bye-bye.